I mean, there's so much, depending on how you promote your show. Like, there's shows out there that are probably put together in a weekend, but I mean, it shows too. Like, we put a lot of money in our production because we want our athletes to have a great experience. Even the athletes that don't win a medal, we want them to walk away from there and feel like they were momentarily a superstar.
Welcome to Bodybuilders Amateur Hour with host Joshua Thorne, Caroline Mitten, and special guest Tija LeBlanc. Welcome back, man. We're really,
Thank,
really happy to have you back.
thank you for having me. It's all good.
Excellent.
It's nice meeting
Yeah,
you.
Thank you. Same here.
great. For everyone that's seen the podcast we did a little while ago with Tijan and Lee, we're bringing Tijan back today because we really the podcast with Lee and Tijan was good, but we really want to get to know Tijan a little bit more, a lot more. He's got a lot of stories, and we're really interested into hearing them and diving deep back into your past and your bodybuilding career because it just seems so interesting, and we weren't really able to get on and get into that stuff with Lee because we all know Lee's a big personality, great, good for, and it's like he's super fun, but we really wanted to get to know you, and now we have you back, and let's do it if you're up for that.
Let's roll.
Take a little walk down memory lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Bring
there's
up.
stories and stories upon stories to be told, and we're super curious. I've actually had a few people reach out to me after they watched the Tijan and Lee episode, and they asked for you to come back on. So,
Nice.
not just one or two. There was like multiple people. They're like, that guy seems like he has a lot going on. He's like, we want to hear more. Multiple times, people were like, oh, because you would give a little bit of information and then we move on to something else. So we
Yeah.
want to give that little bit of information and expand on it. So if we could do that, that's great.
Sure. Let's start with the questions.
So I know that's your big, a couple of your big accomplishments was you became Mr. Canada in 1978, 79, 82, and 85. Those were your Mr. Canada wins.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
And yeah, that's amazing. So before all of that stuff started happening for you, what was the beginning like? Where did Tijan LeBlanc, like, where did you come from? What built this machine that started destroying everybody in in Canada on stage?
Well, actually, this machine started building in 1970 uh, with no knowledge and just a set of weighter weights. And my parents
Oh,
had purchased that set of weights because, for medical purposes, I was always sick and I was
okay.
very tiny for my age. I was in high school weighing under 100 pounds.
In high school. So you were like 15, 16,
I was
17,
15 years old, yeah.
like
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
under
low.
100. Yeah.
Yeah. So in high school, in my day, everybody that went to high school kind of dressed up, you know what I mean? They had nice jeans, nice shirts, and nice everything.
Okay.
But I
Definitely put
couldn't,
more effort in.
I couldn't buy a nice shirt because I was still purchasing my clothing in the youth department and not in the
Oh,
menswear.
wow.
So my objective when I started training was to get healthy and just to gain some weight so I could wear a small men's shirt so I could buy
Right.
the clothing that all my peers bought in high school. And that's how it all started.
Wow.
But to be honest with you, I didn't like weightlifting, lifting weights at all at the beginning. And
Yeah, it
since,
takes a minute to get into it.
yeah, well, what happened is that I was the only kid on the block that had weights and a bench, and the people that were training with me didn't want me to sell it because they wouldn't have any weight place to train with.
Right.
So I just kept on going, and I guess the rest is history. in 1974, my high school girlfriend, or I was in college at the time, she suggested that I do a show, and I didn't know anything about a show. Like, we're talking many years ago, where
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding was more like a cult. It wasn't
Yeah.
mainstream. So I heard of a show in Edmonton. It was the New Brunswick Bodybuilding Championships. So I hopped on the train and I went to Edmonton, not knowing anything about what I was getting myself into. So when I arrived there, we went to this house, and there was a meeting in the basement. There was a gym there, and there was about 15 bodybuilders there. And
Oh,
then
cool.
then they started talking about their routines, and they were all like tan because they had used, in at the time it was called quick tan or sudden tan,
Okay.
which I knew nothing about. So I was white as a ghost,
Oh no.
and I didn't know what a posing routine was. So after the meeting, I just stayed for a while and I started asking questions. So the guy's promoting the show, a guy named Jean-Guy Rioux, he found me some music and he helped me with a posing routine. And the next day, I practiced that routine in my hotel room at night. And that following day, during the show, there was four of us in our class. And in those days, it was short, medium, and tall.
Okay.
And I came second. It was the first trophy I ever won in my life,
Holy smoke.
and it was like that's all I needed was to get that trophy to keep going.
Do you have
And
your trophy nearby?
I slept with my trophy that night. Actually, yeah,
Did
and
you? Yeah.
That's
Do you
so.
it was
do you
like
I've never. My
it
first
was
show, I
like
got a trophy as well. It's crazy getting one for the first time because they're so big. It's just so much more monumental than these like little medals or a ribbon that
yeah,
you get or a piece of paper. It's a
yeah.
fucking big. It's great.
Do you still have your trophy? That one?
No, actually, I had them all at my mom's house, and when my mom went into a home 2 years ago, we had to sell and clean the house, and I had way too many trophies to bring to my new home,
You're just like,
and I
Okay,
grew up,
okay.
they
what
were
a hard.
some of my trophies were like 4 feet tall.
Ah.
So I just
Oh
took a
Jesus.
I took a video of them, and then I just threw them in the garbage bin, and
At
that's
least,
that's the way it is, really.
right? Yeah.
Oh, you should have sold them or tried to.
Well, I saved the
Imagine.
one the one I got for came when I came second at the Worlds in '82, and I had a
Okay.
few more that I
Okay.
because they were just they weren't as big. But I mean, I have all the memories. That's all that I really need.
There you go.
And
That's nice.
so
So,
Living in the
that's
moment.
yeah. That same year, I competed at the. It was a championship that was held in Quebec, and I drove all the way to Quebec with a friend of mine in a little Volkswagen Beetlebug, and
fun.
I came fourth at that show, and I remember the guy that won. He was like he was my height, but he was like, and I even remember what he was wearing. He was wearing coveralls and a t-shirt, and he was really jacked. And I mean, I was nowhere near that. And this guy here, it's funny how life works, but we met at the Nationals years later, and I happened to beat him, and he
Right.
was like idol at,
Oh,
and but
crazy.
it all started in '75 when I competed at the New Brunswicks that were held here at Matthew Martin High School in Dieppe, and when I won that show, um, then I took a couple of years off to try to gain some weight and try to get a little bit bigger. And in 1977, I went to Calgary for the Nationals, and um, it was still the height divisions, short, medium, and tall. And I didn't do very
So,
well that year. I came second last.
so you were going up against like you'd be going someone that might be like an inch or two taller than you,
Yeah.
but like he could have outweighed you by a lot. Like
Well,
there
when I
was no
went,
real.
no, there was no weight. So when
Yeah.
I went my first, like in '78, when I went back, first we had the Atlantic Championships, or well, they were the Maritime Championships, which are now the Atlantics.
Hmm.
That was the first time we had those, and I won those. And from then on, I went to, I believe it was Montreal, Toronto, and I won my first nationals in Toronto in '78. But I probably weighed 145 pounds, and I beat guys that were like 165.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
But I was more cut than they were,
oh, you.
and
I've
that's
seen
when
some
it
pictures.
yeah that's when it started happening for me in 1978.
Right. Uh, so can we take a step back for a second? Like your first show.
Yes,
Oh, okay. Do you remember? I just want to think like going in and being like completely green and like practicing your routine the night before, and like were you? What was that like? Were you? I'm just curious and like were you nervous at all? Like, I know a lot of people nowadays, when they're going in for their first show, going into the Atlantics for the first time or the Halifax show coming up, people are still like scared uh, quite a bit or just very nervous, right?
I
And
was
like,
nervous and scared, but I think I was a little too naive to really be that nervous and that scared because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
okay,
Uh, and this
what did you
this
think you were doing? I'm just super
I,
curious,
I didn't know, like I didn't know anything about, like, how the system worked, like how we
right?
were judged or anything. I mean, coming from Moncton or Dieppe, wherever I was born in Moncton and I lived in Dieppe since 1979, and coming from a small town like Moncton at the time, um, and in those days, like the only knowledge we had were the knowledge that we picked up from
Yep.
friends at the gym, which wasn't much because down east here we didn't have, there was no social media. All we had were a few magazines and a few people that knew a little bit about the sport. And I didn't really know how the process was going to
Oh, for
happen.
sure. That's kind of
But
where like my next question was going to kind of lead to like how did you like just by like friends because now it's just so easy to jump on and like on the internet and figure out what's going on, what to
Mm.
do, this and that. But when
Yeah,
before
because I
all
could relate
this,
to that a little bit. I could relate to that a little bit with my first show. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. I knew a little bit more because of obviously like being able to look up the things what the judge is going to be looking for, but it was a very learning in the moment kind of scenario.
yeah, and don't forget, like in those areas, the bodybuilding was just a bunch. It was guys. There was no girls. There was just only one discipline, bodybuilding,
okay, yep,
and it was in its infant stages, so it was still like growing.
right.
We're
People are
kind of
still
the
figuring it
pioneers.
out.
We were like the pioneers of bodybuilding, right?
Yep.
Ooh, popular guy.
I
So
forgot.
how would you
Probably always.
yeah how would you say when you walked out on stage for your first time, like how do you feel like it's changed versus what it's like now? Like do you find any major differences? Like maybe trying to think
Well,
of the right word here.
for me, it was held in a high school down there in Edmonton, um, and it was just bodybuilding, and it was like it seemed more
Was it less
simple.
casual?
Pardon? It
Was it
was
more
more
casual?
more casual, more simple. I find in those days. Like today, most people on stage have a trainer. They
Hmm.
have a opposing coach. They have someone making their diets. They have everything going for them. Like we did pretty much everything on our own with a little bit of knowledge that we acquired from our friends.
Oh, yeah,
So we only had the basics. I mean, it's evolved a lot since 1974.
for
A
sure.
lot.
So when you're looking at like your first couple of shows and you said you did it on your own or you had friends that are helping you along the way, what like could you run us through like a contest prep diet and training?
Mm.
Like
Well,
you still came in shredded. Obviously, it you were doing something right, but where did like how did this happen?
there's two
Yeah,
guys
how
that
did you know what to do?
really helped me out at the beginning. Joe Surratt was one of them, and Ronnie Gadet was another guy, and
Name's familiar.
everything that they knew, they were into powerlifting more, but everything that they knew, they would give it to me, and I would run with it. Uh, as far as dieting goes, I mean, if you look at the pictures from 1975, um, I was very smooth, but that was the way it was then.
Right.
In 78, I just after I got home from the nationals in 77 and I came second last, I was pretty embarrassed. So I just asked the guy, I said, what do I got to do to be better next year? And he jokingly said, you got to live on fish, rice, and lettuce. Well, I took him serious. For a whole year, that's pretty much what I
Oh
ate.
no.
Shit.
I mean,
Right.
I just followed
Yeah.
what I thought was, but that's kind of what they're doing now. A little bit more exaggerated and a little bit more technical, but
Yeah, for sure. But like, what was your besides after you started like competing? Did you have a goal set out and after you came second to last in that show, like you were like, this can't happen again. You want what? Were you trying to achieve a certain level? Were you going for like your pro status back then, or was this just something that you were just?
not really. I mean, that's the difference between then and now.
Mm,
You got guys here that can't even win a local show, but they're going to go after their pro status. But
yes.
you know, like, if you can't make your high school hockey team, you're not going to be in the NHL, right?
Hmm.
So every show I went to, I just wanted to improve. I wanted to go maybe from second last to maybe the top five. But once you win, you don't want to go down.
Oh, it's so hard.
That's when there's pressure. There was no pressure winning the first nationals because I was not a factor. I was not expected to win by the crowd or myself, and I pulled it off. Now there was pressure. And when you
Yep.
win your second nationals in a row, there's even more pressure because people want you to fail. This is
Yeah,
how life goes, right?
it is.
But once I
They
won the
want that
nationals,
number one spot.
and when in my day, when you won the nationals, you got an opportunity to go to the worlds. And if you won the worlds, you got a pro card.
Right. You're not winning your pro card at the nationals.
No, no,
Right.
which I still don't believe in that, but that's just that it. I understand the process. It's a business. It's a little bit like the NHL. There's 32 teams, and we
Yep.
all know that they're watered down. If you had 16 teams, instead of having two good lines per team, you probably have four good lines per team. And now you're lucky to have two or three teams that have four good lines. But it's a business, right?
Right. Yeah.
I understand that. But if you really want to have the cream of the crop, when you win your nationals, you should have an opportunity to go to the worlds. And if you win the worlds, then you're a pro. Then you get a pro card. And once
I
you
think
get
that's
that,
reasonable.
once you get that pro card, I mean, you're the best in the world. You're not the best in your nation.
Right. Yeah.
And there was a time when there wasn't a lot of pros, and I knew most of the pros. Like I knew who they were, I knew where they lived. But now I don't even know how many pros we have in our province here in New Brunswick.
Yeah. Yeah. I've run
Probably
into
quite a few.
I run into quite a few throughout Halifax, and you're just like, you are real. Oh, okay, cool. And it's like it's just kind of sometimes it can be a little bit of a surprise, but
Yeah.
yeah. But having it that's a great idea, and I really like totally agree with that. It
Yeah, I don't
is
disagree with that at all.
I
I feel like
understand
it would.
a lot of people want their pro status maybe to give them a little bit more, I don't know, credibility when they're doing some personal training and stuff like that.
yeah,
But as a kid growing up, for me, a pro was someone who earned his living at that particular sport.
right. That's
If
usually
you're a
what it
pro,
is in through almost any other sport, right?
yeah,
If you're a
exactly.
pro
Mhm.
baseball
Yeah.
basketball player. That's your job. We're
Yeah.
not. I know a couple pro bodybuilders and uh, bikini competitors that are like, just have a regular 9 to 5 and their hobbies. They're pro at their hobby,
Yeah.
and it's like,
And the thing is when a lot of times, like, don't wish your amateur career away because you could be the top dog at the amateur level. And once you get that pro card, like, you're back at the bottom of the heap. I mean, there's only one Chris Bumstead, and there's only a few of these elite bodybuilders. I
yeah.
mean, they're the exceptions rather than the rules. There's more pros that aren't winning shows than there are pros that are winning shows.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's why. I definitely agree with that, and that's kind of where I stand. Where right now, like as an amateur, doing pretty well. I'm trying to do as many shows as I can right now, just because I can. Right. Soon as like I'm not expected or have any crazy expectations of going and winning my pro card at the Canadian Nationals in a couple months. But I'm going because I want to have fun. I want to compete, and it's and once I said if we were to win the pro card, then I'm done. I might as well just retire because I was like, yeah, I'm a like you said, good amateur, but put me up on the pro stage, just there's no real comparison. So
Like, I've experienced the pro stage twice, and there's a reason that I'm I'm not there. I might have been an okay amateur, but I knew in my heart that I wasn't good enough to be a top pro. And if you're smart enough to know that and you just want to get your pro status and maybe do a pro show because it's something that you've been wanting to do since you're a kid, that's fine. But there's a lot of delusional people in this sport that, they think that they're going to go and they're going to tear up the pro stage.
mm-hmm.
They still can't even win a national event, and they're in their mid 30s. Like, one
Yeah,
step at a time.
right. And
And
then yep, go
Yep,
ahead.
the patience is definitely there because that's kind of how I feel as an amateur. I don't feel ready, nor do I ever feel like I would ever necessarily walk across the pro stage. I'd probably be just doing it just for the fun of the sport and show up at some shows and stuff like that. Because we talked to another pro bodybuilder the other day, and listening to her talk about it, she definitely has um, way more focus and drive for that pro. And I definitely feel like people like myself maybe should get out of the way and let those people that really want to take it pro get up there.
the thing is that I see a lot of people like, okay, don't ruin your career over a pro status. If you have a good
Hmm.
career, don't quit your job.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
No.
a lot of people think they're going to make it big like Chris Bumstead, and they're not because they'd be big by now. If you look
Yeah.
at all those, well, most bodybuilders, there's always an exception, but you look at Flex Lewis and all these guys that won pro shows and that have made it. They made it when they were younger. Like Lee
Yes.
Priest was a pro at what, in 19 years old,
Yeah. Something. Yeah. I
Right.
think. Right.
and Chris Bumstead was a pro at a young age, and
Yeah.
Flex Lewis as well. And Flex Lewis won, 7 Mr. Olympias, and,
Yeah.
and he was winning a lot of shows at a young age.
Right.
And it's simply it's easy today to see where you fit in because of social media. You just take a picture of the guys that are on that pro stage, and if you don't look anything like that, where are you
And there you
going?
go. Yeah. And there you go.
In other words, if you can't skate, you're not going to be a pro hockey player, right?
Right. Exactly. But on the other side too, we don't want to discourage people from trying
Oh
to
no,
get there.
absolutely not.
Right.
I don't. I would never discourage anybody from trying, but I would discourage someone from, let's say, sacrificing everything
Right.
their livelihood and everything for something that might be.
Including health, especially too, when you're seeing teenagers and young adults just pumping themselves full of like supplements and like yeah, and causing internal health issues, trying to thinking that's the key to get bigger and to thinking that's the key to success. When in the long run, it is definitely not.
No, I think it's a great sport. I mean, I still love it. I've been doing it for a long time, and I still love the sport. And that's why I promote shows now.
Yep.
And I judge occasionally when I'm not promoting that particular show. And I still have a love for the sport, but I can see it. Sometimes I see things differently than other people that are right in it because I was in it. Now I'm outside looking in,
Right.
and I can see things a little bit more clearly.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
The yeah. You have a different angle, which is sometimes very well. It is a little bit clearer
I like
than
that
most.
perspective. Yeah, it's a good perspective to have when you're up there. You want someone like looking at you in like the right way. I mean, they're judging you, and you don't want you. I feel like I'd want somebody judging me with like their best interest in mind of like where I'm at on the stage, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really curious about when you were on the. What was it like when you won your first nationals? Like you said, you went in there, you weren't expecting it. I'm just like thinking back to like I remember when I won my first local overall show and like how crazy feeling that was. But going in and winning your first nationals, like what was that like?
Well, actually, I didn't think I didn't know where I was going to place. So when they announced third place, it wasn't my name. So I figured, okay, well, maybe next year I'll be in the top
Right.
three. And then they announced the second name, and it wasn't my name. And by then, I was like daydreaming.
You're just like off, yeah.
I was just thinking about, okay, what do I got to do next year? And they announced my name twice, actually. The first time I didn't even hear it.
Oh,
you were
really?
you were too busy dreaming
I was
about what you're gonna do
thinking
next
about
year.
what am I going to do next year. And all of a sudden, like I heard my name, it's like I couldn't believe it. So it was like, it was a feeling of like disbelief. I mean, first of all,
That's so cool.
if you would have seen me growing up, you would have never thought that
Right,
in a million years I could even be a bodybuilder,
right.
let alone be a national champion, which
So
was,
how, yeah. So how, looking back on that, like, what does that feel like for you? Like that accomplishment, the, like your friends and your family, like, were they like, are they surprised? Were they expecting you to, did they, the people that really knew you, did they know that you were going to be going somewhere, you're going to take this somewhere? Or were you like, um,
I think they were as surprised as I was.
right,
But don't forget, at the time, bodybuilding was very much accepted. Um, the drugs were not out there. I mean, people were talking about that stuff.
right, yes,
Uh, to them, it was just another sport. I mean, it's been blemished now for years because
oh yeah,
people like to talk about it. But I mean, so like I was looked upon as like, wow, you won the nationals. But for me, it was not just about winning the nationals. It was like I'm going to have a chance now to go to the world championships.
right.
So we went to Mexico, Acapulco, Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a real good experience for me. I came eighth out of 32, I think,
Holy smokes. That's what was it
and
like competing in Mexico?
it was great. But like at the world championships, it's that we were like 32 people in my class.
Okay. That's huge.
And the guy who won it was from Mexico. That won the lightweight or the short class,
That's right.
Carlos Rodriguez. May you rest in peace. And man, this guy was awesome. This guy was
Oh,
a nice
really?
guy, nice physique, and those are great memories. But when I came back, like my focus wasn't, oh, okay, I won the nationals. It's I got to get ready for this year's nationals.
Okay, right.
Because my focus was, to win nationals every time, so I could go back to the worlds.
Uh, and yeah,
Like,
and that happened for
Do
quite a few years.
yeah, 4 times.
Yeah, that's
you
so
ever
that
bump
be
into Do you ever bump into people from high school and people don't even recognize you?
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
We had a few get-togethers, like high school reunions, and yeah, they I think they were like pretty surprised because I
Oh,
was
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
not a
how'd that
jock.
first one go?
Let's just say I was not the jock in high school.
right. Exactly.
I imagine what they all look like compared to you.
Yeah, that's always kind of fun to think about.
The last time I went was I think it was our 40th year, and I didn't hardly recognize anybody.
Oh,
That's so funny.
I might have recognized two, three people.
you're just like yeah. When so I think did I recall that you had a story about Arnold? Did I hear that right?
Well, Arnold, in 1980, there was a show called the International Bodybuilding Championships, and you had to be invited. It was
Okay.
by invite, and I was invited because I had won the nationals twice.
Cool.
So I went to that, and I placed second. I lost to a guy named Renato Bertagna, who had just won the world championships.
Oh,
That would be like you winning the nationals and coming down and winning the Atlantics.
oh, okay, yeah.
So
Very
timing,
sweet.
right? The guy shouldn't have even been there. But
Okay.
he was a real bodybuilder. Actually, he beat me fair and square. Um, and at the night show, Arnold, like he lined up all the athletes. We were all lined up, and he all gave us each $100 bill and thanked us for doing his show. And I'll always remember that.
Ah, that's that's
That's
really
awesome.
cool. So Arnold gave you $100, shook your
Gave
hand,
everybody $100. Everybody,
right?
every competitor.
You know,
That
it's
was a lot of money. That
it's
was a
so
lot
much
of money.
better those kind of things when you get to meet people like that. Sometimes those are just almost better than the wins. Is getting to meet those people and have that experience. I feel like that's almost more special.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, and I met a lot of top bodybuilders. I mean, I competed with a lot of top bodybuilders. Like I've
Hmm.
competed with Lee Haney, who
Yeah, that
won.
there blows my mind. That is really cool.
Competed with Lee Labrada, Tom
That
Platz,
there.
Samir Banu. Oh God, the list goes
Samir is
on.
amazing.
Samir is one of the most gentlest gentleman guy that you'll ever meet. Like we went to see Flex compete at the Olympia about 3 or 4 years ago, and we were at the banquet after, and Samir just came and sat with us for about 45 minutes.
Oh, nice.
He remembered me competing with. That was like for me, it was nice.
That's yeah. That really just shows like the type of person you are, and then the actual like the physique that you brought was definitely memorable to him too. Then, right? So
Maybe it's the fact that I was the shortest guy around.
okay, man.
That's
and
so
then
funny.
and then you yeah you held your own though, for the most part. So wow, wild. Yeah. Did you got to like meet like Lee Labrada and or Lee Haney and
Well, I competed with Lee. I never met him personally, but we were on the
okay.
same stage. Tom Platz, I
How
talked to
was
him a few
how was
times.
meeting him?
Tom Platz is a real nice guy, super nice guy. I met him in the elevator when we were in, I think it was Columbus, Ohio. And then when I went to train at Gold's Gym in California in '85, he was training, and I talked to him for a while there.
Oh man, I've tried to emulate some of his leg training. It didn't go well.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Yeah, my knees did not like it. So he was, but
Savage.
yeah, yeah, it really is. Yeah, but so after all those, what was your last show?
My last show was in Roanoke, in Virginia. We were. It should. My last show for myself was supposed to be the Night of Champions in New York
Okay.
in '94, because I just wanted to do one pro show for myself, because I knew that I didn't really fit in with those pros. I mean, they were like, I was standing next to a guy 100 pounds heavier than me,
Right.
and it was just for it was just, I guess, something I wanted to accomplish since I was a child. But I got a call from the promoter at the time. I think I think it was the Jantana special, and I think Wayne D'Amelia might have been promoting that show. But I got a call, and I was asked to compete at that show because they were going to let the top three uh, qualify for the Mr. Olympia, the Masters.
Ah, cool.
Well, I went there and I placed third, and but
Wow.
That's
they just took the first guy.
Oh, it's so close.
But that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was it. That was my last show in 1994.
Going into it, were you expecting it to be your last show?
Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
my last show I was expected to be in New York.
Right. Yeah. But
But
then,
I
then,
the opportunity came up, and I thought, well, why not?
right.
I'm
So
already in
yeah,
good shape.
a little extra one on the top, I guess, wouldn't.
Yeah, I
why
guess so.
not go
Yeah,
with a bang.
but that's when you realize that, okay, enough is enough, and I've been competing. I was competing for 20 full years, and you know I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. It takes a toll, right? It takes a toll, like socially, financially, mentally. It's
Hmm.
hard.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. Like, like I was thinking, okay, I come all the way here, I spend all this money, but I can't go out nowhere because, like, it was so hot that day. I didn't want to leave my hotel room because I didn't want my tan to run.
Right.
And I said to myself, so you know what? My next trip will be somewhere where I can visit, go and enjoy myself.
Yeah. Because usually, yeah, we're there. You say if you're traveling for a show, you're there a couple days early. You're not doing anything.
No,
You might be in the gym, maybe, and
yeah,
then you either after the show you're heading home or you've just exhausted for the next day or two, and it's
yeah.
really hard to kind of take advantage of that.
Because when we went to Europe, that's the way it was. Like, we arrived a few days before, and we left the day after the show.
Right.
So, that's just the way it was.
So
Yeah,
what
it's
was
time to
the
go home after the show.
Yeah.
so what was it like competing in the different countries? Were they in the different uh, was it run similar? Was it had a different feel to it when you're competing here in Canada, the U.S., overseas?
Um, I thought they were all well-run shows. Sweden, they're very kind over there, very nice to the athletes. In Belgium as well. Um, yeah, like I have no complaints about anywhere where we went. Like, we were well treated in Mexico, well treated in Columbus, Ohio. Everybody was really well treated.
Oh,
Did you have
yeah.
a favorite spot that you went over the years?
I'd like to go back to Belgium and visit,
Oh, me too.
because down there, like, it's there's so many little quaint restaurants, and they speak French down there. They're very French,
Uh, so yeah, you're
and
fine. You'd fit right in.
yeah. So it was pretty neat to, because in Belgium, like, when they seen a table, when they seen our, they love Canadians over there. So when they seen our table, the owners would come and sit with us,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
talk to us, and
Nice.
it was pretty neat, actually. Yeah.
that's fun. That's, so, how did you? I'm just really curious about like having such a like long and like amazing career. When you did retire, how did you handle that? How were you? Was it did it take a while to kind of get back into like a regular lifestyle, or was there parts of you that maybe that really wanted to get back on stage like months later, a year later, or was there any like what do we call it? Post show
Any bugs?
blues? Like
Um,
yeah,
for me, it was easy to adjust because I still live the lifestyle of a competitor, although I didn't compete. I've never strayed from diets. I've always trained hard as before, and I always tried to stay in shape. I just never veered from that. And I
cool.
was judging at the time,
Yeah,
so that was something that I was doing as well. But I always stayed involved.
nice. All right, so yeah,
Then,
so keeping involved into the community definitely would help ease ease that little itch I guess we get sometimes.
and like I said, I never really stopped the lifestyle, the competitive lifestyle. I
Mm-hmm.
just stopped competing,
Right.
but I still stayed on diets or meal plans, if you want to call them that. I didn't want to gain like 50 pounds and look like a balloon like a lot of people when they stop trying.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, to stay
There's
in shape.
something about the schedule of it and just having that organization. It just, I don't know, as much as it's a lot of work, man, oh man, it takes a lot of stress out of your day. You don't really realize when you're, let's say you've never competed, you start competing, you get into like the schedule of meal planning and workouts and everything, and you're like, geez, I'm way more efficient with my time. And then you stop bodybuilding, you're like, why would I not use my time in a similar way?
Well, this
It's
is what I
nice.
do. Like, I mean, I've always lived a structured life anyway. Even when I was in university, I was structured. I
Yeah.
studied, I worked out. I just never strayed from that. And even to this day, I'm still living a structured life because that's what I like to live. I, I
Hmm.
know tomorrow what I'm training. Some people
Yeah.
don't know. They get to the gym. Well, I'm not sure what I'm training today. Well, that
Yeah, like how do you, yeah, I know those people.
happened to me.
That's just like how? Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to have
It's
that
like
routine. Do you ever switch your workouts up, or you just find, do you have
yeah.
like a favorite kind of combo?
No, I switch them up. I mean, I switch up. Sometimes I even switch body parts with body parts. I used to do
Okay.
chest tries. Now I do chest and tries and stuff like that. I just switch it up a bit, make it interesting.
all
Are you
right.
a
So
solo working out person? Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Or do you like having a partner?
I don't mind training with a partner, but they train with me. I don't train with them, if you know what I mean. Like
Oh,
I,
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I follow
that's
my
good.
routine, and they want to jump in. I'm more than happy to have them because most of the time they're a lot. Some of them are 30 years younger than me, and like for me, it's motivation.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Oh
just
yeah,
I just love training
gives
with
you
the
that
young.
bump.
Yeah, because I know I can't. I'm not as strong as they are right now because I'm older, but I still try to push harder when they're around. And I think they push harder because they don't want to be shown up by someone my age.
Right.
Yeah,
And it works both ways. There's a kid at our gym. He's only 19, but this guy's. I mean, he's a great training partner. Like he's
Oh,
great.
that's fun.
Yeah.
that's
No,
cute. Love it.
so going back to like when you were going through when you were competing, you're doing like you were kicking ass. What was your training style like? What got you to that physique that you, yeah? What got you to your champion physique? What, like what's
Um,
the training? Was there a particular style or was it like
it's very hardcore. My training. It was. It still is for my age. I probably shouldn't do what I do, but it's too bad I do. Uh, I used to train very heavy for a small person, and I believe in training heavy and hard.
yeah,
Like I see guys come in the gym now. I mean, they're all pumped up, and they don't do a whole lot of basic movements. I mean,
right,
at the time, I always did my basic movements, and like I see guys come in there and do cable curls and cable crossovers and cable this and cable that, but I never see them do like like curls with a bar and weights,
right.
and I think that's what's missing in a lot of guys that they don't have that dense muscle.
They're
If you
not
want that,
grabbing and yeah,
no.
doing the bent over barbell rows or like
I was more like a. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to these guys, but like the way they train, like Ronnie Coleman trained hard all the time and heavy,
Yep.
and Jordan Yates, and that's pretty much what I did.
Right.
And I did 4 years of powerlifting in all that time too,
Oh,
so that
cool.
helped.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I did 4 years of powerlifting.
Right. How did you do in that?
I won every year. Well,
Are we
I
surprised? No.
yeah, I was.
No.
I did the 148-pound class. I did the 165. I did the 181, and then back down to the 165.
Oh, wow! You jumped around like that's really impressive for someone that was like, you know, had
Do
it.
you feel like the powerlifting helped with any muscle growth? Like, would you like get any gains? Or did you feel any gains from that or see any gains?
I never did super train like powerlifters have their own way of training.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I always trained like a bodybuilder, but I was training with a couple of powerlifters, so I would bench with them when they benched, and then I would do deadlifts with them when they did deadlifts, and I would squat with them. And those are the three movements that we were doing.
Right.
And they basically would work around that, but I still did all my other bodybuilding exercises.
Right. So yeah, you were still sculpting your physique instead of just lifting.
Yes,
Right. As long, yeah, kind of a big difference between the two.
but that has a lot to do with diet as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Def, for sure.
Very much so diet.
Yeah.
Speaking of diet, what would be like your off season diet while you were? Did you have much of an off season at all going through your?
No, I just pretty much ate the same, only more food.
Right.
Like I wasn't a guy to go out and eat burgers and fries or stuff like that. I mean, if I was to do it again, maybe I would do that. But in my era, like we just thought that you had to do all this stuff to be the best, and that's what I did. I did whatever I had to do to try to be the best
Right.
that I could.
So what would be one of like the weirdest things that you've eaten? And like, do you remember like someone asked me a question a while back that they wanted me to ask during the other podcast, but we didn't get to it. Someone asked me to ask you what was like some of the strangest things that you've probably eaten to either gain muscle or in a prep.
Well, the the weirdest thing I've ever done is because um, I'm not. I don't like eating. Okay, so
Yeah, no.
when you're eating 6 times a day, sometimes. So
Yeah.
one day I got the bright idea. I thought, I'm not going to eat this. I'm just going to put it in a blender, put some
I
water,
was waiting for that.
add protein powder,
I should
and
have
a
threw
can
some
of
bets
tuna,
down.
and I
Can of
blended it, and I drank it. It was
That's
so.
old school as
Oh,
fuck. That's
You can
some
still
OG
taste it 20
activity.
years later.
oh, what was that? Sorry. What?
I said I blended a can of tuna
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I drank it.
Yep.
And I said I can
Fucking
still taste it
savage.
20 years later.
You can still taste it.
Oh, gross.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, can
But
of tuna
Do
by
what you gotta
itself
do, ladies
is
and gentlemen. Do what you gotta
yeah.
do.
yeah.
No excuses. Put that shit in a blender.
Yeah, get it in, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot
I
easier to
can't
lose.
eat anymore. Okay, well then drink. If you can't eat, drink.
There's a lot more knowledge out there, and there's a lot of things you can do with your food to make it more interesting.
Yeah, yeah, you could definitely. There's a lot more like supplements now, like store bought supplements that you don't have to
Yeah.
crack open a can of tuna, which is just nasty in the first place.
Yeah.
'Cause I've eaten
Uh,
so much tuna in my early years, especially when like again, like you're saying, when you're first starting out. Like I did not have a lot of money, and back then tuna was I think 45 cents a can when I started,
Yeah, it was cheap.
right? So we were just pounding back the tuna. Probably got some mercury poisoning. I don't know.
I was actually thinking that.
I did get mercury poisoning.
You did. Oh
You
God.
did?
Oh yeah,
Oh no.
yeah.
What's that like? How'd you know you had that?
Well, I had gone for some blood tests, and my doctor called me all like in a huff, like, I have to see you. I have to see you. So I went over there, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Why?"
What
He
did
said, "Your
you
mercury levels are way off the charts, and this and that." And I said, "Well, I'm eating
do?
like I was eating like 4 or 5 cans of tuna a day."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was simple, and I was just kind of too lazy maybe to cook. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, what I did is I completely cut out tuna, cut out fish. I just started increasing my vitamin C, and what happened is the mercury gets in your fat cells,
Okay.
and it can stay with you for a long time if you're overweight. But I wasn't, so it didn't take long for it to come out of my system.
Just burned out.
I was, yeah.
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 Yep.
So speaking of,
Bodybuilder, you getting rid of fat, not a problem.
yeah. So speaking about that, you stayed lean pretty much year round. So you didn't really have to do much cardio, did you, to get ready for shows?
The shows that I've done the best at, I've never even knew what cardio was.
Right. That's amazing.
I never did cardio ever, like except for maybe the last couple of nationals I went to. But before that, like all my world championships, all my nationals prior, I never did cardio ever.
Oh,
Hmm.
amazing. That's crazy. So like you would just diet down through like a calorie deficit, and
Yeah,
probably due to your training, you'd be burning energy and burning calories through your training if it's
yeah,
being crazy, like you said it was.
yeah.
Did your training change at all from off season to contest, or would you train the same all the way through?
I train the same.
Good. All right, people that are watching, um, yeah, take that and run with it, because I know a lot of people that go into contest prep and they lighten the reps, or they lighten the weights, they increase the reps, and they you know change a lot of things that or start doing new things while in contest prep. And I'm always wondering why throw something new in the last 8 weeks, 12 weeks, when you don't really know what it's going to do.
No, I think it's important to keep the density and keep your
Yes.
training. I mean, I'm not saying the last week or two to tone it down a bit when
Well,
you're like
that's
pretty much drained.
yes,
But
that's
I
for
mean,
safety reasons. Yeah.
some people start like 12 weeks out doing exactly what you said. They lighten the weights, do more reps. But I mean, I find that that just gets you strained unless you're on
Exactly.
unless you're in a lot of PEDs. But
Right. But that still sometimes doesn't save people. But I've
no, I
seen
mean,
it.
I think if you look at guys like Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman, they trained heavy pretty much until the
Right
last maybe.
until, yeah. I used to follow Branch Warren a lot, and
Yeah,
kind of this just right along with those guys, right? So it's like 2 or 3 weeks out, and they're still just moving stupid amount of weight I could never touch in the off season. So
yeah.
yeah, so
Some
yeah,
guys are good at handling heavy weights.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
liked keeping my weights the same all the way through. As I got closer to show, I even if I inevitably had to lower it because it was just mainly after feeling how the body was going, but I loved trying to push it all the way up to the end.
Yeah,
It felt great. It looked great too, and you're getting a good pump on, lifting really nice and heavy.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the key.
Yep,
yeah.
agreed.
So after you retired, and um, when did the idea of becoming a show promoter happen, and how did this come about?
Well, in 2007, the guy that was doing the Atlantics here, Len Collette,
Yep.
um, he decided to retire, and they asked Heather and I if we would promote that show. Now, that show was just for bragging rights because that show didn't qualify you for anything.
What show
But
was that? That was just
the Atlantic,
the
the Atlantic,
Atlantics, right?
and we made it a qualifier when we went with the CPA. Ron made it a qualifier. but it was just for bragging rights. But it was a big show because, I mean, we would gather all the athletes from the Atlantic provinces, and it was like if you were the best in the Atlantic provinces, even if it didn't qualify you for your nationals, which you would qualify through your provincials, it was still something to be recognized with, right? It
Yeah,
was an honor
something to be
to be
proud of.
champion, yeah. So that's how it had come about. Len Collette didn't want to do it anymore, so we got the opportunity. We took it, and it was at the time it was kind of dying a little bit. I mean, we just worked and chipped away at it year to year, and it is what it is.
Right. This,
Now it's doing
so,
very well.
right,
Yeah, it's my favorite show as far as promoting.
the Atlantics.
Well, it's because it's the first. I was the first one to win the Atlantics in '78,
Yeah, so it
and
holds a little bit of spot in
a
your
little bit.
heart.
Nostalgia,
So
little nostalgia.
Yeah, and
right,
it just grew from there, and I mean it's been in existence since '78. So
yeah. So that's pretty amazing. So if you don't mind explaining, like a lot of people just think that okay, Tijon and Heather are putting on a show. What they're just gonna, you know, rent a venue, put up some lights, sell some tickets, and make a lot of money. What I know there has to be more that goes into it than that.
yeah, that's not even that's the making a lot of money doesn't exist, but we won't go there. We do make some money at some time.
Of
At some
course, it.
there are shows where we just broke even, but we won't talk about those shows. Renting
Yeah.
the venue is probably and selling tickets. That's the easy part.
Right.
Um, the administrative behind all that is the hard part. Like there's probably 3 months work in promoting a show, and then probably full tilt the last 6 to 8 weeks. Um, I mean, there's so much depending on how you promote your show. Like there's shows out there that are probably put together in a weekend, but I mean, it shows too. Like we put a lot of money in our production because we want our athletes to have a great experience. Even the athletes that don't win a medal, we want them to walk away from there and feel like they were momentarily a superstar. And you can't really feel
Hmm.
unless you have the staging, the lights, the
Yeah.
music. We get the smoke going and all that stuff. And we do this
That's
for
the
the
best.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
I
do this
can't
for
wait to compete with the CPA for that. It's going to be
yeah.
a good time.
So this is why we do it. We could do it a lot cheaper, but I don't think it would be as memorable for the athletes. So when we retire from this, I'm
Yep.
not about to retire now, but when we do walk away, I just want people to remember that we put on some really good shows and that they had a good time doing the shows. It doesn't matter if they won or not. That's irrelevant in the long run.
Right.
I mean, you don't really remember your wins as much as you remember the experience that you had during
Right.
that time.
Before,
Hmm.
after, like the whole process
Yeah.
is yeah.
And
It's incredible.
we don't like to. We want our athletes to come to a show and feel comfortable. Uh, we want them to feel like they can ask us questions. We want them to feel like if there's something that's they're not understanding, that we can explain it to them. And we do our best during the show to make sure that it's run smoothly, so that there's no waiting and there's no like dead time. And
Yeah,
that's
I
why
know.
we have a good staff. We have a real strict staff, but I mean they're really good. We're very fortunate. We have good people.
Yeah. There's always when you go to you can really tell a good show when like I've been to a lot and competed at a lot of your shows and when you see the same people backstage every show helping. You know, like they're coming back, right? You have return staff, you have return volunteers. You have
Yeah.
people that are just that's saying like a tremendous thing. Like obviously they're enjoying it, they're
Oh
liking it.
yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for them.
Well, this is another thing that we've always done. We pay our volunteers, and
Which See,
which
that is unheard of, and that's so great,
we pay all of our, everybody that you see there working gets a paycheck.
right? See,
That's
like that is
that's
so cool
awesome.
because that is something that I don't think a lot of people know.
No, I mean,
And
No, I would have never known that.
yep,
if you're a volunteer at a show and you might not never volunteer again, you're not going to give it your 100%.
right,
Like I got guys working my door that I can go away for half an hour and I'm not worried that no one's getting by them. Those guys, nobody, because that's the type of people that we want. We had some
yeah,
before that didn't do their jobs well. I mean, we just politely didn't invite them back.
yeah, fair,
But you know, when you run a show, you have to run a show. It's a business.
of course,
If we let everybody in for free, we can't pay the bills. We're not going to last as promoters, right?
yeah, of course,
Right.
But our sole objective is not to make money. Our sole objective, it's one of the objectives, but our biggest objective is to make sure that our athletes are happy and that they will come back to our shows and not go to shows, let's say, in other provinces.
right,
Or they can do both, but as long as they do our shows as well.
Hmm.
yeah. And I
That's
think
amazing. I love
yeah,
that.
and looking at the gladiators that just happened, and every other one before that, and the gladiators and the goddesses, like everyone's just you have a great return, right? You have a great return with the athletes, and everyone just enjoys it. And where did the idea for the gladiators come about? If people don't, I just want to actually put it out. People that are watching, if you don't really know what the gladiators are and the goddesses, do you mind explaining?
The gladiators and the goddesses are athletes that are competing more or less for bragging rights, but they're what we consider the elite athletes here in the Atlantic provinces, and they're by invite only. You can't just come and compete in that division. Now, that division doesn't qualify you for anything else except bragging rights, but it's an honor, I think, for those
Yeah,
people that do the gladiator and the goddess to be part of that whole scene because we put a lot of time into and effort into those shows. And I think by the production that our objective, my objective when I first came up with that idea, bodybuilding was dying. There's a year that we had 11% of our athletes were bodybuilders. 11%.
oh, it's
Before
so
it was
small.
10. So I thought, so how can I bring back the bodybuilders? And then I started looking. I was thinking about the WWE, how their marketing, how they do things.
Smart.
And I thought, geez,
Hmm.
maybe I should bring in something similar. So let's call it. I mean, they all look like a bunch of warriors, so let's call it the gladiators.
Yeah,
So
I
when
love that.
I came up with that idea, and then I pitched it to a certain individual who thought I lost my mind, said that it would never fly, and it flew very well. And that's
Does it
how I
still
came.
happen?
Huh?
Do they still happen now?
Well, we had one last year, but we're going to take a break for a while, and then I'll bring it back
Okay.
upon request. Yeah.
right.
Nice. Do you guys do novice groups or is it all or just open or people that are pro?
Well, the gladiator is not novice. They're all people that have won shows or won their
Oh, okay.
division in overalls.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last gladiators that happened here a few months back. Yeah. So I took second in my division in that weight
Right.
class. Right. So
Nice.
I can speak honestly. Like that was like it. It's like a little mini Olympia for people, right?
That was the objective because we thought, how can we bring all these guys back and then make it so they want to come back? So that's why I thought about the press conference. We do a
That
press
was so
conference.
cool. That's
Everybody
fun.
gets a hat and a hoodie, and we just try to promote it that way. We try to make fun with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like your comment earlier about how it's a little bit easier to get your pro card nowadays. Back in the day, it was, you'd know who the pros are, and they definitely stood out from the rest of the crowd. It's kind of just like almost a little taste of that, make you feel a little special. You want to come back if you know there's a reason you could win something else potentially that you
Yeah,
have to be invited for.
yeah. I think that the gladiators are pretty. The guys that do the gladiator, I think they're happy with the outcome.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think everybody that I've spoken to after the show, there was no one there was not,
Woo.
not happy, right? Like not happy with, well, maybe some of the people that lost, sure, but that not happy. I mean, not happy with like the production side of everything,
Yeah,
right? So it was like it was a very well put together and extravagant operation. So it was very cool.
yeah,
And that also goes with the goddesses. The goddesses, the same thing, but then the female side of uh, the sport.
yeah. That was our first time, and now we're going to do it again next year. I'm
Nice.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Oh.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's one of the other questions. Because I know the gladiators are done for a little bit. So the goddesses they're gonna go for another year and then
Well, I think we're going to go for a little bit more than that with the goddesses,
okay.
and
Because
I'm
the
probably
gladiators ran a little bit longer, right? So
I might introduce something else. I got something else I'm thinking about. Right,
oh, that's exciting.
Uh,
I'm not sure.
can you give us
Just
a
Yeah.
trailer, a verbal trailer?
because I'm not sure how I'm going to bring it out there.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty exciting.
Still in the
Worth a
works.
shot. Worth a shot.
Yeah, it was. It's a good try. Good try. Um, oh, that.
That's
All
super
right.
exciting.
Yeah.
I'll be keeping my eye out for that one then when I do my CPA shows
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
um,
should be good.
so we're yeah
next year.
we're bringing her we're bringing Carolyn over to our side, and we're going to get her up on stage. Because so, do you have a show planned? There's like the Atlantics, or
I
you
don't.
wanted to do that
I want to do
a couple
something
times?
in Nova Scotia for sure. And then they have the New Brunswick Naturals this year.
Yeah.
That would be something that would be. I would definitely be interested in the natural shows and competing in my hometown. Those are my two big goals for now.
Well, we have a show here September 30th in Nova Scotia for this year. Now, next year, we
Hmm.
don't have the date yet. And
Yeah.
we do have our natural for next year. This year, we just had it. So,
Yeah, I'll be keeping my eye out for that
Cool.
one.
yeah.
Put some size on first. Get size on time.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you up there.
It's exciting and nerve-wracking. It's like a little bit too much to think about. I'm anxious though. I'm anxious to get started.
So, Tijan, people that are really like, I want to, people that are looking at starting into bodybuilding, figure fitness, any type of sport that's gonna, any type of division that's gonna get you on the stage. Do you have
Right.
any like tips or tricks or like anything that you can kind of put out to the like a real amateur, a real not like the what am I trying to say? Got anything that you want to say to someone that's like looking to come up on stage for the very first time? Like,
Well, first of all, I mean, you have to try to find out where you fit in. We do put on a seminar every year, which is very informative. So if you want to come to this seminar and see exactly how things, take place and take shape on the stage, we have all kinds of pros that are there to assist us into um, showing you the way. Another thing you might want to look and then start shopping around for a coach, someone
right? Yeah.
that you can relate to, and someone that you trust. And once you get that coach, if you're new, you might want to get a posing coach as well. There's all kinds out there, and that way you get ready. You feel ready, and if you've never seen a show, I think the first step would be to go see a show, see how things take place.
Yes, I agree
And
with that one for sure.
yeah, but remember one thing: getting ready for a show is probably one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. So just put your mindset, get ready for that. Okay, it's not a cakewalk. You can't just buy a show. You got to do the
No.
work, and there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of sacrifices. People may not want to hear that, and other people may not tell you that, but I'm going to tell you that because I don't want you to waste your time and money if you're not ready to commit 100% to the show. And
And you got to.
that means like your party days are going to be over for a few months, 3 months maybe,
Hmm.
depending on what time of shape you are. You're going to have to train. You're going to have to be under a strict dietary regimen, and you're going to get tired. You're going to get sometimes lonely, depressed. That's all part of the deal. But
It's
you know
so
what?
true. Yeah.
Surround yourself with the right type of people, and you reach out to other people that you could trust, and they'll walk you through it and they'll talk you through it.
Oh, that,
Super key. Super key for sure.
Yeah,
Got to have that network.
yeah, the network's very important. Yeah, I find relationships can take a toll depending on like the supportive support that you do have.
absolutely.
It's a really interesting too. It's a really good way to tell if your relationship can handle a serious prep, then you're good to go. Like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, if you can handle that, you can pretty much handle everything.
And divorces during prep can end.
Right. Yeah. I remember
Brutal.
I remember the first time when my wife and I, when we were dating, I was decided to do the Atlantics 2019. I sat her down on the coach and I looked at her and I said, "Things are going to get a little weird." So I sat her down and I talked to her and I explained what is potentially is going to happen over the next couple months. So, and I was like, I'm gonna get a little moody. I'm gonna get tired. I might get cranky. I might just not talk to you for a little while, and like just kind of roll off the things that I'm personally used to. And I was like, "Can you handle this?" And she's like, "I'll try." And then every, everything went, and it was good. And she ended up being one of the most supportive people I've ever had in my life, right?
It's nice having that good fair warning.
But yeah, to front load and to kind of understand. So people that are watching this and thinking about competing for the first time, it is something that you really got to think about, and that that's things in your life are going to take a hit, but it is
Yeah, have that
worth it.
conversation with people.
Yeah, it is
Oh
a
yeah, you got to
hundred
have that
percent worth it.
conversation.
But
Oh
all the
yeah.
sacrifice is worth it in
Yeah.
the end. The stuff that you gain from doing a contest and doing a prep or doing a show is like I can't really put it into words like what you can discover with yourself and what this work that you put in can show and bring out in you. And it's totally life changing.
Oh yeah.
And you have to realize too that, or your partner, whoever, that your social life is going to be limited.
Right. That is a hard thing for some.
Yeah, yeah. Some people can't handle that, but I mean, if you have to work out in early mornings so you can go to work and then come back and do cardio, well, you're not going to be partying until midnight, and well, of course you can't drink, and you're going to want to probably have your rest and go to bed early. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's a sacrifice that you have to make. I mean, um, most athletes that are elite athletes, they make a lot of sacrifices that people don't know about.
Oh, yep. That's the thing. We go up on stage and the bodybuilder and the bikini competitor, we go up on stage and we show off our work, our artwork, the hours and years of work put into this. But the people that are watching don't see that, right? They don't see the training. They don't see, you know, the 24 hours of work that goes into a physique. 24 hours, 7 days a week.
I mean, we can fast forward that to like a gymnast or a figure skater.
Yeah.
We see their performance, but we don't see how many times they fell, how many times they hurt themselves, and the long hours on the ice, the long hours doing gymnastics. Like we only see the end product, and the people in the
Hmm.
audience, that's what they see, the end product. They don't see what you went through for the last 3, 4, 5 months, depending on what type of shape you were in when you started.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people in the audience, oh, they go see a show and they're going to, oh, I'm going to do that.
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, when the Karate Kid came out many, many years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, the dojos the following months were full
Just packed, I bet.
because, they all wanted to be like the Karate Kid, right?
Yeah.
If you talk to guys that are teaching karate, I mean, probably after a month, 80
There's,
or 80% of them were coming back.
yeah, it just falls off. Yeah.
But like that
Yeah,
was way harder than I thought it was going to be,
it is hard, and
or a
there's a
lot
lot,
more drills than you'd think it would be.
a lot of hard sports out there that people
Yeah.
don't realize. You just see the end product,
Right.
and bodybuilding is one of them, one of many.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
You'll see the pretty end result, but you don't see all the drills that they're running in the background. Or for us, all the time, all those long hours in the kitchen, weighing
Yeah,
and cooking your food.
All the fish and chicken.
The
Yeah.
grocery store starts going, oh, how's it going? They'll start recognizing you. Back again, are ya? Or I was leaving Costco and I had like literally a stack of spinach, of like these jumbo sized packages of spinach. And she goes, Jesus, look at the arms on ya. And I was just like, it's the Popeye diet, got spinach. And she's like, are you going to eat all that? And I'm like, it'll be gone by the end of the week. And she was like blown away. One of those might go bad in most people's
In most, yeah.
fridges, but I'll get four and down them in like a week.
Oh, the spinach. You must be on the Greg Doucette diet.
yeah.
I guess I do.
The big
Spinach.
spinach wraps. Yeah.
Oh my god, I ate so much flipping spinach, mountains of it.
Awesome. All right, T. John. That's all the questions I have. Unless you have, you're totally more than open to if you have anything else you want to speak about. But
No, I actually I pretty much gave out my whole life right there.
yeah, it was awesome, man. You've done so much and seen so much crazy stuff. It's like it's wonderful. Like what an experience that, and what an honor to have you on and for you to be able to share that with us. It's wonderful.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and yeah,
Yeah,
it
I'm
was.
glad
It
we
was
yeah glad we were finally
Yeah.
actually able to hear the stories, which is nice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
get all the OG experience.
yeah.
there's a lot more stories.
Oh, well, you're more
For
than welcome.
another day to be
Yeah, more than welcome to
continued.
come back
One
anytime.
other day.
Yeah, so definitely. And
Oh my god, we'll have a little Christmas special. We'll all be sitting around a fire
sit around a
Yeah,
fire. We'll
we'll
get
try.
with our protein drinks instead of hot chocolate. You gotta
Protein
get the protein.
protein and eggnog. Yeah, I'll be done eating by then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real eggs.
Yeah,
That's the kicker. It's not eggnog. It really is just
it's like
eggs.
Yeah,
gross. Eggs and
Put it in a blender. In a
with tu-
blender. We got
with,
yeah.
with tuna.
with tuna.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. That sounds awful.
Yeah, it was awful.
That's
Wonderful.
funny.
Yeah. Welcome back anytime. Yeah, it was great. Really like hearing about all this stuff because I've known you for many years, but like again, we don't really. Oh, that's another thing I want to ask before I actually go. Like I've known you for many years.
One more thing. One more thing.
A lot of people do know you just through the sport, right? And through promoting the shows but being a show promoter and a judge, do you find that affects your like social life a little bit? Like being able to go out and hang out with like maybe like friends or like potential athletes or you don't want to be really how do I say?
Well,
Uh, like
we
cease socializing with other people that might be competing on stage one day. How does that work for
we
you?
we do our best not to show favoritism to anybody or any like coaches and that. Like I say, we're often invited to go here and there, but we choose because I mean perception is everything, right?
Yeah.
So if we hang out with certain coaches or certain people or athletes, and then they happen to do well at our show, we don't need people saying, "Well, oh, they were together like a month ago doing this and doing that." So yeah, we kind of try to keep things on a professional basis. Uh, but I mean, like we just try to do everything the right way, so there's
Right.
the less chit chat as possible.
Yeah.
No drama. We don't like
No
drama.
drama. Yeah. No, that's no fun. We try to stay away from that. Yeah, I just want to bring something up too. Like, for example, a lot of people might call out. Say if you were hanging out with somebody. I'm going to use Dana Baker as an example.
Right.
Okay, you're hanging out with Dana. Dana comes and wins the Atlantics, and like, oh, like Dana won because like Heather was a judge and she marked him up. She scored like, but the highs and the lows usually will get tossed on a
Right.
scoring, right? So
Absolutely.
sure, yeah, Heather
We
marked Dana up, but
yeah.
that's going to be gone. So it doesn't really work like that, right? So there's a
Well, first of all, we rarely. I mean, there are times when we rarely judge our own shows,
yep,
and if we do, it's because at the last minute, one judge couldn't show up, so we need five judges.
yeah, of course you have to
Sometimes,
have yeah.
sometimes Heather will be sitting at the judges' table. Doesn't mean she's judging. We just,
I don't think people know that. That's interesting. Good.
yeah, we just like to make sure that everything is copacetic. Our head judge most of the time here is Duncan Lombard,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't interfere with the judges. We don't. I let them judge the way they want, but it is our show, and we just want to make sure that the judges are doing their jobs as well. They have a
Yes.
responsibility. So we want to make sure that there's not a judge that's sitting on that table that's biased because they know a certain person or that same person comes from the same province or something else. So yeah, we're around the judges table quite often, but we don't influence our judges in any way. And I can say that with a straight face
Oh,
because
for sure.
are really good judges. And do they get it right every time? Maybe not, but they don't get it right every time at any level.
You got that. Yeah, it's there for sure. It's
And I think
understandable.
our scores are pretty good. We rarely, I mean, sometimes you'll get a complaint, but it's because the girlfriend or the husband or whatever thinks their spouse should have won. Well, of course, all the spouses are thinking that their better half should have won. But like you said, we take the high and low, we throw it out.
Right. Yeah. So
So
Hmm.
like judging is very, we think it's fair. Like we haven't heard a lot of complaints about our judging, and we try to keep it that way. Like I said, we don't want to judge our own shows. We had to judge in Newfoundland because we couldn't get a judge, and then just
right.
we
It's
just
just like
we do
unavoidable sometimes.
we do what we have to do, and basically, like you'll see that at the Flex show, like Heather will not be judging.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see me at the front door. So,
Right. You love
yeah.
the front door. You're always there.
Well, I like the front door because I need to control what comes in and what comes out.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
Right. Gotcha.
We've never really had problems at our shows, and we don't want to have any problems. So, we have a lot of good security that works with us. Um, our security is not friends with anybody. They just work for us,
Right.
and they just do their jobs. And I think that's the best way to have it. That way you have a good show. There's no favoritism. And we try to treat everybody politely. When they come through that front door, we try to welcome them. If there's an issue, we try to deal with it.
Perfect.
Love that.
Yeah. In and out. Right.
I love that. Nice neutral grounds for some good
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
nobody's going to pay $100 for 2 tickets or close to, and not have a good time. So my
Right.
job is to make sure that whoever comes through that front door is happy, and when they leave, they're happy.
Excellent. Yeah, that's perfect, man. Yeah, that was I just yeah wanted to throw that out there because I know I've heard a couple people uh, had that question, and I just like wanted me to actually address it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
think is super, yeah, just a great way to put it out there,
Yeah.
and like,
No, I mean,
Knowledge of behind the scenes.
yeah,
like me
Yeah.
personally, I don't have no favorites. I just do my job, and when I judge a show, uh, I I judge a show that I'm not 100% involved in.
yeah,
I judged in
fair,
PI. I have nothing to do with that show.
yeah, that works, right? Cool.
Yeah,
Makes it, yeah, just makes it easy. Again, no drama.
yeah, and like like sometimes, I mean, we always have our judges, but hey, sometimes a judge can call on Friday night and say, "Listen, I can't make it tomorrow. I'm sick," and we're stuck without a judge. Well, what are you going to do? You're not going to go with four judges.
Yeah, can't really do that.
I mean, Heather's
No,
a
you
pro judge.
stepped in a little bit there.
Yeah, Heather's a pro judge now. I mean, she obviously knows what she's looking at, and like there's no favoritism. Like that's why when we're judging, we make sure that everybody gets a chance. Let's say there's 10 people in the class, and we call out the top five that our head judge thinks are the top five. Well, our head judge is going to ask all those judges, "Give me your top five," and most of the time they're the same.
They're
And if
all,
they're three different, they might bring 6 people out instead of five. So everybody gets
okay.
Oh,
a chance.
okay.
So we don't particularly just let the head judge make all the decisions. We try to make decisions as a group, and we try to be fair and make sure that everybody gets a fair judge.
Excellent.
I
And
like that.
yeah, and speaking about, I just sorry to keep this going going a little bit longer than we thought,
No problem.
but I was just really curious about
Nova Scotia style.
yeah, right. Just curious about like judging criteria. I know it's gonna be different for body like male, females, and like the different categories. But an overall, if you could do like a quick rundown of somebody that's coming up and that's has never done this before, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do wellness, or I want to do classic physique. Is do you know like a little breakdown about like what the main things judges are going to be looking for?
Well, I mean, wellness, we all know that they're the girls that have the bigger butts and the bigger legs, right?
Yep.
And some girls don't really know where they fit. But when they're judged, like say you got 5, 6 girls, you can tell who belongs in wellness as a judge, and you can tell who is maybe borderline and who belongs in bikini.
Right.
If it's a show where there's not a lot of girls, a girl that's borderline, I mean, it could happen that she would win both if she competes in bikini and in wellness.
Right. So she's almost in both. She could kind of float between the two categories
And
and
then,
might
and
be
if
able to.
it's not very competitive, she could be win both. But that's another exception. But most of the time, you can tell who belongs where they belong. I mean, classic
Hmm.
physique is just the physique itself. They're not blocky. They got that nice taper. They're not like they don't look
Right.
like a Nick Walker, if you know what I mean.
Right. Big, blocky, like hard granite kind of
Yeah,
looking.
there's a guy that
Built
didn't
like
win.
a fridge.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys are really good, but I mean, especially in physique, men's physique. I mean, the guy with the small waist and the nice big wide back and shoulders is going to be the guy that's bigger than him everywhere, but also bigger in the waist.
Right. Yes.
I mean, that guy probably should maybe do classic physique.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
there's all slight differences. And again, one of your seminars, going to one of the seminars that you hold will help people choose and figure out too as well.
Yeah, well, we show slides, and then there's enough pros there that, if you're not sure which division you belong, I mean, the pros will tell you which division they think that you belong in. And if you're not sure, come contest day, do both. You can do
That's the
both.
that's the nice thing with the CPA with the crossovers, right? You
Yeah,
just
just do
try
a
it.
trial. No big deal. You might fit in somewhere where you thought you never fit in.
That's a really good point. That makes sense. Excellent. On that note, hey man, that's all I got. I
All right. Thank you for having me again, and till the next time.
really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
till the next time. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Have a nice evening, guys.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, T. John.
See ya.
Enjoy your
Cheers. See you
evening.
around.
Take care, guys.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.